Hi everyone, and welcome back to Chasing Psychological Safety, the video series in which we talk to you about your people practice and what you can do to get your teams up to speed from the point of view of psychological safety. To a degree, we need it more than ever now, and we are here again. Thanks for joining me, Fionn, to talk to you about a topic that we fear is going to be transformational from here on. In particular, if we're going to take a step back and start designing this future of work that you hear so much about, and the way that work is going to be coming back into our lives from the point of view of this hybrid reality of remote and office, which is going to be the next step after COVID. So if you're going to start designing those things, we think that one of the elements you should focus on is something that's a lot more actionable than some other of the notions we've been playing with so far, which is, where does humor fit in your team as a team leader and as a motivator, as well as a powerhouse for all of the actions that you take together as a whole? Shall we start by talking about some kind of, let's take a step back and figure out first off, why do we think humor should fit into a team at all? Because let's face it, most of us are in workplaces where that has never been heard of before, and it hasn't been encouraged, and most things were not safe for work. So how do we make humor again safe for work?
I think one of the overwhelming takeaways when you think about humor and work is something that you just alluded to there, which is that so many teams and workplaces have been conditioned to take work incredibly seriously. And, you know, I've worked for a long time in the field of team development and coaching and team coaching, and we are as guilty as anybody, believe me, of taking the work that we do very seriously because we're passionate, maybe, or because, you know, we need to do good jobs to get paid, etc. Whatever the reason is, we all take ourselves very seriously. So first and foremost, there's a great argument for having more fun in the work that we do, whatever team we're in, whatever kind of work we do. But underlying that is the idea and the very true concept that a psychologically safe team, a high-performing team, has humour as part of its day-to-day, and that is because they have that safety, because they know each other sufficiently well. They've taken the time to set those behavioural norms. They know what each other's levels of humour are. They know what each other's kind of favourite jokes are. They know what's okay and they know what's not okay for the people around them, and they respect that. And therefore, there's this kind of very easy humour that you get in those teams. And I think that that's super important, but also you need it to get you through the day. So that's why it's another really important pillar of a great team, because, you know, sometimes work is hard and humour can really help us get through the day.
I obviously can't agree anymore. And I think it's really important that we take stock of ourselves as individuals, what it is that makes us laugh and how that fits into a team dynamic. Because if anything, I think we need to define a fifth type, if you wish, of impression management. So far, you guys remember we've talked about this many times before, which is the antidote of speaking up is when you stop yourself from doing so because you're afraid of one of four things. That's the definition of impression management. And those things are not, you're afraid of looking incompetent, you're afraid of looking negative, you're afraid of looking intrusive, or you're afraid of looking ignorant. Those are the four things. At the same time, I think we need to define another one, which is you're afraid of looking unprofessional, which is a combination of all these things, but it's also an undefined idea that the workplace expects you to be a certain fashion. And I think when we do that, when we stop ourselves from being us because we're afraid of looking unprofessional, then we don't employ humor, then we don't bring our true selves to work, and then all of the things start falling down and we can't really have psychological safety. So I think going back to the roots of having fun together is a good starting point to ensure that you don't have this behavior happen in your team. And again, a little bit of it appears in the prying thing, a little bit of it appears in your image as looking ignorant or not, but I think it's almost a different topic, which is people are afraid of not looking different than what they should look like in the workplace, regarding being unprofessional and being too emotional, being humorous, being all the things that you would be with friends and you are afraid to be with your work teammates.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, Fiona, we were saying today, we supposedly just came up with an idea that you guys are absolutely free to use. Please do get it in your, set it in your set team goal if you need it. Use it yourself, whatever you'd like to. But yeah, what were we saying that people could be doing?
Well, we think something along the lines of a Find Your Team Humour Hackathon. Joanna came up with it this morning. As I mentioned, I do a lot of work in team coaching, always looking for fantastic new exercises to build trust in new teams in particular, but also teams that are resetting or coming back together. There's all sorts of moments for a team when it's really important that we take the time to get to know each other and to set that team up really, really well. And this would work brilliantly for some of those teams. And that is essentially to spend some time understanding each other's humour. So maybe we forget about learning about each other's childhoods or preferences or those things. Now we start learning about each other's humour. So we start to understand what people find funny, what people don't find funny, what people are okay with, what people are not okay with. And then you can, first of all, you're just sharing and you're laughing together, but you're also setting some really, really nice boundaries around what kind of humour can be used in this team, and you get to understand each other better. Humour is a great indicator of who I am as an individual, what my story is, what my background is. It really allows you to share more than you would think. And then it sets the tone for humour being part of the team as you're working together. So it doesn't end up as a byproduct, it's part of the team from the beginning, and it helps with building that trust, which is what psychological safety is at a group level. So whenever you are working with a new team, resetting a team, bringing a team back together, that would be a fantastic exercise to use.
Right. So just what do we laugh about, or kind of what do we like humor-wise? How funny are we? Where are we funny? Call it whatever you like. Just make it a humor-based hackathon. Ask everyone to come back for this meeting with, say, 3 or 5 of their most beloved pieces of comedy, and tell them that it can be absolutely anything from movies to books to memes to jokes to whatever it is that makes them laugh personally. But the one thing I would advise is that you ask them to come back with the most outrageous things they can. What is their limit of political correctness? Ask them to come back with the kind of stuff that they would send their most intimate friend group on WhatsApp. Realistically, they probably won't, because obviously they have enough barriers in place from having worked in a corporate environment for long enough. I think it's a good measure of how long the team had been together, how much they already trust each other, how much psychological safety already exists in the team. So you're going to see probably more outrageous of humor of the teams that have had the time to be performing together and not just being in this continuous storming situation. But realistically, just take a step back, let them unfold however they bring it, and then maybe do another one in 3 or 6 months and see if that level of political incorrectness has increased, and if things are more outrageous but funnier or not. See how that fits into your entire team dynamic, because the one thing that doing this exercise will bring you without a doubt is an ability to be open and an amount of courage behind the action of bringing this to the team that you wouldn't otherwise be able to provoke easily. So that courage in itself, that bravery of opening up and telling you what I actually find funny and what is important to me, or what I think is slightly outrageous, exposes your belief systems, exposes your morals, exposes what you believe your teammates are able and willing to understand of your humor, and it already implies a level of trust that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to test if you didn't have this exercise in place. So just try it for us, and let us know how it went for you.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you next week about bigger topics, such as how do we deal with this entire new world of remote and office work. But meanwhile, stay safe and psychologically safe, and crack a joke.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.